Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffy Kennedy, author of fantasy romance and romantic fantasy. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Yummy. Hmm. So let's see, today is Friday. Yay! April 2nd. And I have to resist the urge to put my coffee cup up on the keyboard of the laptop that's just asking for trouble. Ah, spring is here in robust force. I put my hat on, beginning of hat season. I wear my hats in wintertime sometimes, but um, mostly, I mean, the whole reason I started wearing hats is to keep the sun off my skin. Since I am a pale skinned Irish Scot extraction girl. Mm, feels good. So, um, here we are. I'm pretty excited. Going out of town this afternoon on a little excursion, having to pack, which is funny because I'm all like, what is packing? Who am I? And so no podcast Monday because I come back Monday night. I know you're all waiting with bated breath for, you guys know where baited comes from? You all are smart. You probably do. It drives me crazy every time I see some author write it as BAITED, bated breath. It's supposed to be BATED and refers to horses having the bits in their mouth and how they breathe as they are actually being tormented by it. Restricted breath. Um, so, yes, revision of Sorceress Queen and the Pirate Rogue is very nearly done. That reminds me, I should close this lest Corrine pop in. Close my Hangouts tab in case she asks me where some things are. I have to write the BCC, which I've put off until the very last moment. Cover reveal is Monday, so cover should be beautiful. I think I think it is beautiful. You guys should think so too. Uh, but I need to write the BCC, which shouldn't be a problem because I've written the book. It's just I don't have a whole lot of brains left. But the revision is almost complete. I only have 25 pages left. Woo. So I yeah, I have to be careful not to fall into the fugue state of thinking about it. I do have a tired. Very excited to just spend my weekend relaxing, thinking. Thank you guys who sent best wishes. Yeah, little vacation. I think arguably the first vacation we have had in, I couldn't even tell you because, like if you don't count going to visit family, which I think doesn't always count, maybe it's since we went to Ireland in August of 2019, that might be the last vacation. And even that was partly a working vacation for me. So, yeah, this little weekend getaway and with some friends and just vaccinated friends. And yeah, I don't want to rub it in people's faces because I know a lot of you are still waiting on first shots. Although I'm hearing a lot of my friends now around my age are getting their first shots now. So so finally everybody's getting the vaccine. Um, but yeah, it's really nice. I'm glad I got this revision done. I can send this off to the proofreader, send that BCC to Corrine. Um, the cover reveal will happen without me on Monday, so that's always nice. Should be great, right? Should be really super fun. Um, and I'm happy with this revision. Dorinda says it's her new favorite. I think that Dorinda just whatever is in front of Dorinda is her new favorite, and I do not mean that in a bad way, Dorinda, because I think you are delightful that way. But this one is more action packed, and she finished reading it last night and sent me an email saying that it flew by and there was never a dull moment, and that she said, not that you ever do have boring moments, and it's like I know I probably have boring moments. You could tell me. So yeah. So yes, yesterday I did another big push. Don't know if I could tell you how many pages I made it through yesterday. Let's see. I probably can tell you because this is open. Um, I guess, did I just make it through 65 pages yesterday? That seems not right. Oh, no, I made it through more than that. Well, I didn't update the formula. Let's see. So I went from page 330 to page 209. So doing the quick math, 121 pages. Yeah, so I made it through 121 pages yesterday. 5 1 hour sessions, which is pretty much my max. I seem to really tap out after that. So yeah, just 25 left today. I've added almost 5,000 words this week. Mostly just weaving in stuff, layering in things. My revisions are always adding. Um, Although usually considering that that was a first draft, and I really didn't go back and noodle with it much at all. And then this revision is really my second pass. I don't often have this smooth of a process. Knock on wood, right? But for some reason, even coming back over it looked really tight, and I was happy with it. The J agrees. Um, and I ended up. I think I have only cut. Because I keep my outtakes document. I've only cut less than 200 words, which is odd too. So who knows? I mean, that's one of the things about the writing is that, you know, some books write easier than others, and there's no reason for it. It doesn't mean anything. There is no, it's tempting to assign a formula to it because we always want to assign formulas to things that and we particularly want the ones that are harder to write to be better and more valuable to justify all of the torment. And that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's a mystery, to quote Shakespeare in Love. It was my neighbor with her German Shepherd. Her German Shepherd always stops to look over here looking for cats, but she keeps him on a leash. She's a very responsible neighbor. So, hmm, yeah, I've got quite a few things to do this morning to get ready to go, get that stuff finished out and sent off. But I think it's all pretty doable. I'm feeling reasonably good about it. Yeah, but a little bit brain empty. Okay, so let's see. We're at 9 minutes. Let's see if I can get in the story of how we ended up at Santa Fe. Um, I'm all out of latte now. It's probably not even that long of a story. So we'd been living in Laramie, Wyoming for over 20 years. David is from Wyoming. And he was working for Game and Fish as a fish pathologist. And the winters in Laramie are long and brutal, and they last until like June. No lie. They start in around Labor Day and last all the way through May. You get some nice weather in there, but it's rough and it's very windy. And so it was, I think, the fall. We were starting into the fall, and David was stressed about work. He'd been at the job for a long time and wasn't happy. And he, was like, "Oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do." And it was a job he had fallen into when the kids were little, before I met him. and it had been good living for a long time, but it wasn't what he had chosen. And I said, "Well, I know what I think you should do." I said, "You turn 50 next July, and you have your 20 years of service." They were doing that whole encouraging people, like, I don't know, the 70-80-20 rule, something like that. Whatever, how it works out. Anyway, with the years that he had on the job plus his age, maybe it was like 70-30. I don't know. Uh, doesn't matter. So anyway, he could take early retirement from his job. And I said, "I think you should take early retirement and go to school to be an acupuncturist." And he was flabbergasted and he said, "Why?" And I said, "Because you love acupuncture. You've been wanting to do acupuncture for a long time. It would be your chosen career. And this hasn't been, and you've been doing this job for 20 years, and that's long enough." And I said, "You could pick a school in a place that we actually want to live." And because we were tired of living in Laramie. And I said, let's move and you can go to acupuncture school. And and he said, "Well, but I'm too young to retire." And I said, "Well, that's entirely the point." I said, thinking of it as, uh, you're taking early retirement, yes, but you're not retiring. You're quitting your job and still getting paid. So it's a beautiful thing. I mean, not a lot, but he, has his retirement stipend and had his insurance covered. Now we've switched it over because state of Wyoming is really screwed up, and he was actually going to have to pay more than he was getting from his stipend just to cover the monthly premium, and they didn't even cover that much. That's another story. So uh, I said, "Pick where you want to go." So he started looking at all these different acupuncture colleges, and we checked out a bunch. We looked at Austin, and we went up and toured a couple in on Vancouver Island around Victoria in British Columbia. We looked at one in Portland, Oregon. We actually did that on one trip. We went up to the Northwest and we went and looked at the one in Portland and got the whole tour and everything. And then we went over and spent a few days on Vancouver Island to Victoria, which we really loved up there. We'd been there on vacation, and he looked at those schools. He looked at the one in like Denver or Boulder. I checked out the one in Austin for him because I was down there working for the day job. I still had the day job in environmental consulting then, but I worked from home. So that was part of the deal that I said, I can work from anywhere. So I said, let's pick where we want to be. So, and he applied to the ones that he liked, and he got in, and we settled on the one in Victoria. We really liked the one in Victoria, and we we went up again later. He applied and everything, and then we went up again. I may be telling it out of order. He may have applied. I think he went ahead and applied, and then we went up and toured the school and settled on it. Maybe it was 2 trips, because we went up again and we went house hunting, because our house in Laramie had appreciated substantially, and so I was like, "Let's buy a new house," and we found a house that we loved in Victoria. It was up on this hill, and it had a view of the ocean, something I'd always wanted. And this was all in the early spring, and David was turning 50 in July. He'd put in his notice. We'd told everyone at our big Christmas party that we were moving away. And we, were sort of gradually putting things together. And meanwhile, I was traveling all the time for the day job. I was traveling like 2 weeks out of every month. It was crazy. And and it ended up being so hard to get the Victoria thing to happen. The Canadians were incredibly difficult about visas. Um, David could have one as a student. For me, they they kept refusing. Well, actually, they gave David a hard time too. They made it difficult for us to buy the house. They wanted us to put 40% down. 40% down on this house, which even if we sold the Laramie house, I don't know if we could have afforded it. It would have been very, very tight. And besides which, everyone was like, "This is bad, makes bad financial sense." So we kept wrangling with them about that. David kept applying for the the visa and stuff. And I had applied, and they'd basically told me that I would just have to be, since I had a US employer, that I would just have to deal with um, like going through customs every time I returned to the country. And I was really kind of dreading that, because I thought, well, the last thing I'm going to want is coming back from a week of working somewhere in the US and, trying to get home late at night on a Friday night or something, and having them say, no, they're on a whim not going to let me on the country tonight, not going to let me go home. So fast forward to now, it's on. Also, we couldn't sell the house because this was 2009, and the house had dropped out of the bottom had dropped out of the housing market. And even though we had a very desirable house right close to the university, beautiful old 1913 arts and crafts house built by one of the founders of the university, really neat house. Spring is here. Thank you. Um, we were not getting offers on the house, and it was just people couldn't get the financing together. It was bad risk, all this kind of thing. And of course, our Victoria house that we'd put the offer on, that was contingent on the sale of the Laramie house. But it was June, and getting down to the wire, we would have to move in August. Classes started in August, and nothing was settled. None of this was in place. And I was working here in Santa Fe for the day job. We were, because Santa Fe is the capital of New Mexico. I was always in the capitals of states, which was interesting because they're not always like the city that you think of as being the most glamorous, like Springfield, Illinois, or Jefferson City, Missouri. So I was here in Santa Fe, at Fort Marcy, for those of you who know it. And I was talking on my cell phone, standing outside in the evening, done with work for the day, and looking at the lights of Santa Fe below, and talking to David. And he had just gotten another um, stupid, I mean, weird refusals on the visa. I mean, like, they kept telling him he was missing stuff he wasn't missing. And he had just gotten another one, and he was depressed and blue. And I was kind of talking him through it. And he said, this just feels like it's not going to happen. It's so difficult. It feels like maybe this is not what's supposed to happen. And I said, well, maybe we should consider some other options. Maybe we should knock on some other doors and see what opens. If you really feel like there's so much resistance from the universe for us doing this, let's knock on some other doors. And he said, well, like what? And I said, well, looking at the lights below me, I said, what about Santa Fe? We've always loved Santa Fe too. You know, we love everything about Santa Fe. Is there an acupuncture college here? And he said, well, I think there is. So the next day I'm at work, and he texts me, because I'm online, and he says, messages me. I don't even remember. We might have been using Yahoo Messenger then. And he says there is an acupuncture college there, and it's a really good one. And so at lunchtime, my colleagues, because we traveled together all the time, we were all friends. They went with me to the acupuncture college, and we got a tour and checked it out. And they did have openings in the fall class, and it was like, well, he could do this, and they had exactly the kind of program that he wanted, and we didn't know why we hadn't really looked at it before, but he hadn't. And so then, because we were in Laramie, it's a straight shot on the interstate up through the Front Range, New Mexico to Colorado to Wyoming. So I was driving back with my friend and colleague, and the real estate agent called from Victoria, and she said, okay, well, tomorrow is the drop dead date for make or break on this house. What do you guys want to do? And I said, well, what happens if we walk away now? And she said, absolutely nothing. She said, this is your opportunity. You can walk away now. And I said, you know what? I think we're going to walk away now. And she said, okay. She said, I'm sorry to hear it. And I'm like, yeah, me too, but it's just not going to happen. And my colleague and I stopped at this rest area, pee, and came out, and there were hundreds of dragonflies swirling around in the air over me. And I was like, there's a sign. And and then, I swear, you guys, the the next day, we got 3 offers on the Laramie house. 3 offers on the same day. So then, um, on David's birthday, July 21st, we came down to Santa Fe and we did a whirlwind house shopping, and we found this house and put in an offer on it. And we had already had the solid contract on the Laramie house. And we moved down here on August 19th. And David started classes, and we all lived happily ever after. So so that's our story of how we ended up in Santa Fe, and we thought we'd only be here for the 3 years he went to school, but then when we considered moving somewhere else, we were like, "Yeah, we love it here. We wanna stay." And stay we have. And that's the story. Oh, my best beloved. So, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, as I intend to do. I'll remind you that First Cup of Coffee, now empty coffee, is part of the Frolic Media Podcast Network. And you will find more podcasts you love at frolic.media/podcasts. And I will talk to you all on Tuesday. Take care. Bye bye.